All right, guys, welcome back to Crawford Farms Entertainment. I am going to continue this story about how I ended up being this middle-aged dude that watches cartoons and anime. But before we get started, make sure you click that subscribe button, hit the notification icon so that you won't miss any of our anime content. Also, I'm going to show you how I made this avatar that is supposed to look like me. Then if you stick around to the very end, I'm going to show you the number one workout apparatus, number one piece of workout equipment for a dude over 40 who's got a job and kids and everything like that. So make sure you stay tuned to the end, and until then, check this out.
All right, I've been trying to use Chat GPT to generate some images to be my new cartoon avatar. And look at this mess. All right, so I mean, I like that one, but that's definitely not me.
The real Mike.
Now you getting deleted.
I am so sorry.
Then this guy's super skinny. This guy's clearly white. This is supposed to be me. I don't know what I was doing with this, but I was trying to make this one look like me. Did not work. So I'm gonna keep playing with it. I think I'm gonna have to use this one. Y'all don't get mad at me. Actually, no, I'm gonna try one more. I'm gonna just take the one out of the middle. I'm gonna just use that one. What is that? It's thinking. Yeah, whatever. I'm going with it.
We left off with me becoming this kind of a local football star. Not a local football star as in we're playing organized football. No, this was literally just the people in the neighborhood who thought that was pretty good because they had a hard time tackling me. It never translated to any type of football success in real life because, one, it was really expensive to play football in South Florida and we just didn't have the money. And the other thing was I had pretty bad underlying anxiety. So I was nervous about the idea of going out and playing football when everybody thought that I was going to be good. I was terrified that I was going to disappoint everybody. So I would find ways to sabotage myself. Even if we had somehow found the money for me to play, I would not have played. So the next big life event for me was the birth of my baby brother. So I love my brothers and sisters and I care for my brothers and sisters, but I never had any type of responsibility to take care of them in the sense of like changing diapers, making sure they ate and things of that nature. Yes, everybody pitched in, but that was one of the responsibilities that I felt that I shouldered in my mind more than everybody else, even though it might not have necessarily been the case. So the birth of my baby brother, it was huge. It was big. I think it prepared me for fatherhood and having my own children. And my little brother, man, yeah, the kid was weird. So me and my other younger brother, we were normal kids. We used to love to play video games and things, but sometimes if my mom had to work, we would be watching my baby brother. I can remember times when we'd be sitting there playing a video game and all of a sudden my foot would feel warm, right? I have on a sock. That sock would suddenly feel warmer than it should. And I looked down and this little joker was peeing on my foot. I can't remember exactly how old he was, but I know he was old enough to stand up. I know he was old enough to walk. And I know that joker peed on my foot. But those are some of the memories I had of my baby brother. And even though sometimes he drove me nuts, I wouldn't change a moment of it. As time was starting to go on and I was getting older into my preteen years, my baby brother was my excuse to go and watch cartoons. It gave me an opportunity to watch The Lion King. It also gave me an opportunity to start watching Pokemon because, well, if a 12, 13-year-old kid is going to watch Lion King, it looked kind of lame, kind of weird. But if he's taking his baby brother, he looks very cool doing so. So he was my excuse, my ticket into the movies and to watch cartoons. Now, moving on to middle school. Really crazy time. That struggle to fit in and that social awkwardness was at its peak at this time. It was during this time where I related the most to Bruce Leroy, Goku, anybody who was just basically from another planet than the people that were around him, because I just could not relate. I just did not fit in. So I talked about how my big move from the suburbs in Central Florida down to South Florida into a not so nice neighborhood. I talked about how that was the conception of my anxiety. Well, if that was the conception, middle school was when it went into labor, was born, and came out kicking and screaming. And the way it manifested itself, I would get into fights constantly. I struggled to fit in. I wanted so bad to be that nerdy guy who read comic books and talked about science and played video games and talked about video games and comic books at school. I wanted so bad to be that guy, but that just was not where I grew up at. And so in order to fit in, I had to put on as if I was something else. Like I wasn't that nerd, that goofy comic book reading guy, because I really wanted to fit in. So during this time, the show that I related most to was the X-Men. They were a group of mutants who were just born different. They were born with extraordinary abilities, and the world hated them for it. Now, I knew I didn't have any extraordinary abilities, but I did feel different. I felt like I just didn't fit in with the folks around me. It was mostly because of my anxiety, partially because I was poor, and the people around me, at the very least, they made it seem as if they weren't as poor as I was. Now, as an adult, I realized, yes, they probably ain't have any money either, but they found ways of making it seem as if they did. But I never fit in middle school. I just felt different. I felt out of place. And I knew I was different. I didn't want to just be weird different. I wanted to be extraordinarily different. At one point when I was younger, I had hoped that maybe I'd have some kind of mutation like the X-Men and become super strong or super fast. And eventually I got older and realized that that was not going to happen. So I had to figure out a way to try and set myself apart, to try and be, in my mind, special like I was when I was the best athlete at my elementary school. Even in middle school, was constantly working out, constantly trying to get stronger. But for whatever reason, I went from being that guy who was the fastest and strongest in his elementary school to all of a sudden, these guys were monsters. They were so much stronger than I was. And I was still going to fight anyway because I did not care if I lost. My anxiety was such that if I felt threatened, I was going to attack. I had a heightened fight or flight response. And for me, the flight was not there. It was always fight. So I constantly got into trouble. It wasn't until 7th grade when a math teacher came up to me and was like, you constantly get into fights. It seems you like to fight. Maybe you should come out for the wrestling team. So I went out for the wrestling team and I enjoyed it. It was weird though. So when I went out, these guys were older than me. We went out and worked out with the high school team. I was strong enough to lift these guys up and throw them around, but they knew so much more technique than me, they would just wipe the floor with me. But I was hooked. I really enjoyed wrestling. Whenever I could make it, I would go out to practice, and I learned a little bit about wrestling, but it didn't seriously take hold of my life until much later. On my very last day of middle school, we had this stupid day where we were supposed to pick somebody to hit. I don't understand the full reasons for it. So I hit this kid. Apparently it was the wrong kid, and his brother and like this army of guys, I guess they were all wrestlers from the high school, they pulled up and they were ready to attack me for punching this kid. And me, in my defiant attitude, I see all of these guys pull up and they're huge, but in my mind, I can take all of them at the same time. So these guys are up in front of me. They're threatening me like, why'd you hit my brother? We're going to do this, that, this and that to you. You better run and take off. But something in me would not allow me to run. So if this would have been anime, this would have been one of those dramatic moments where the hero digs deep and manages to accomplish something incredible. However, in this situation, I wasn't really the hero. I was kind of the villain. I guess I was being a bully, right? So I did something I shouldn't have done, and I was about to get what I deserved. Fortunately, it didn't play out that way. So I stood my ground. I was ready to fight all of these guys. I probably would have got beaten terribly, but I think the school resource officer showed up and they all ran off, and that was the end of it. So the very next year, I went to that high school, and I went to that high school as a wrestler. Now, my freshman year, I was still watching the X-Men, and then this new show popped up called WilCATS. It stood for something covert action teams. But the premise was there was this group of aliens and alien hybrids who were secretly going around saving the world from the Daemonites. And so at one point, one of the characters in this show did something super cool, and somebody looked at him and said, "Hey, that's not humanly possible." And the person, this hero, turned around and responded to him, "Whoever said we were human?" I always wanted to find an opportunity to say something like that, to do something amazing, and have somebody look at me and be like, "Man, that's not humanly possible," just so I could respond, "Well, whoever said I was human?" I'm starting to wrestle, and I'm training for wrestling. I'm starting to get serious about it, but I cannot win a match. I mean, I'm getting beat badly. I am so far from being able to start as a wrestler, it was ridiculous. I couldn't win to save my life. I would get taken down and pinned, sometimes in the span of 30 seconds. I did start as a freshman, but only because the guy that would mop the floor with me, I mean, this guy manhandled me as a freshman. The rumor was that he had gotten arrested for murdering somebody. Years later, I found out that wasn't true. He just moved to another county. But the only reason I started was because of him. And as a starter, I successfully managed to lose every last match that I competed in. All right, so as promised, you guys see I'm covered in sweat right now. The thing that did this to me is my MetaQuest 3 by Facebook or Metaverse, whatever they call themselves now. This thing is awesome. The workout that I just did was through FitXR, but if you really want a cardio burn, try Thrill of the Fight. For me, for that added endurance, I kind of mimic Son Goku and putting weights on myself. That's why you can see this sweat pattern is in kind of a weird shape, because I put on all of these weights and everything to add intensity to the workout. So check it out, MetaQuest 3. It'll have you looking like a psychopath, a nut job, but it's a great workout. Thanks for watching. Make sure you click like and subscribe. Let me see if I can find this mouse.